For all its worth, this has been a long, arduous journey. Talking about the Rickberry timeline at length to characters who basically did have some fill in the, according to some people, but you can't really blame. To basically Paige being a fill in because she used her queen bee status to probably make Emma unwanted for protecting Rick. The student body for basically taking Emma's arch rivet campaign as a way to cope with the fact that the administration didn't help him out at all. Emma for basically giving Rick chances to be creepy towards her and basically nearly kill her. Alex for knowing domestic violence firsthand, but basically using her knowledge to basically use Rick as a punching bag for every guy who wronged her mother. Radich for the fact that as the administration, he didn't calm the students down. He basically had the students fend for themselves and basically left Rick at the altar, if you will. Spitter for the fact that he was part of the group that destroyed Rick from day one and never let up. His guilt about the fact that left he let Terry get away towards Rick and then, Terry in a coma. And his guilt that was basically Jay ridden. And speaking of Jay, the fact about Jay being such a jerk towards Spinner and Alex, and basically he had no qualms. He had an ego and basically bullied Rick and basically got his hopes up. And basically, he had no sympathy towards what Alex and Spinner were thinking. Well, there's only one true villain in this whole scenario. I hate to say it, but basically, the guy who started this mess is basically a villain for obvious reasons. But we'll get more into that later. This is Rick's story. Who would have thought that a guy who basically seemed to get a lot of happiness towards him, the later season 4 happened, and basically, he's now in a grave and all that. But it's its own doing. Basically, Rick was bitten with Terry in season 3. Didn't like how Terry was being perceived, and basically kind of jealous that Jimmy would be the director in a play instead of Rick. And basically, he didn't like the way Jimmy was coming close to Terry as an actress. So basically, he destroyed Terry's confidence, saying that Jimmy, this is all his fault. But basically, he knew that he messed up and all that. Rick was very controlling towards Terry. And obviously, something was wrong. Rick got mad at the fact that Terry, he thinks, is being brainwashed by Paige and Hazel, basically saying that Paige and Hazel are spreading lies about me and all that. And they don't like you being with me. Terry tries to defend those two, but Rick doesn't believe it. And Rick basically decides to prove it by basically pushing Terry into a wall. Basically, Rick and Terry break up because of this, and they come back together just in time for Paige to announce that she's got her family's minivan and that they're going to take a road trip. There are, of course, Paige and Spinner and Jimmy and Hazel being couples, and they're concerned that Terry is with Rick, saying that Rick has changed and all that. So basically, they try to watch out for signs of badness. Rick pisses off Paige. Rick decides to walk it off, and then he yells at Paige, basically saying that don't you ever go near Paige and her clique again. They're bad for you. She's being influenced by you. And then Rick accidentally puts Terry in a coma with a shove onto a rock. Rick tries to calm Terry down, or basically tries to help Terry, but he has blood on his hands. He runs away. He gets pulled out of school by his parents and not expelled like we all thought he was. But basically, yeah, he was just a terrible person. So anyway, Rick was gone, and we thought that basically Rick was gone for good. But then Back in Black happened, and no, sorry, not Mercy Street, excuse me, happened. He's back at the school. He basically tries to get Paige and the clique to realize that he's better, but they don't believe him. He, of course, gets pushed around thanks to the Orange Ribbon campaign. He decides to try to nip it in the bud by giving Emma money that would hopefully try to have him not be pushed around by Emma's clique anymore. However, Alex doesn't like the fact that Rick's trying to buy his forgiveness and all that. Rick still gets bullied to the point that, okay, maybe he deserved to be bullied, but basically this is going way too far. So basically, he's in trouble and all that. He then bumps into Toby, and basically both are role playing geeks and on the Wacky Brain team, so they find a common bond and they decide to do a kissing contest. Sadly, though, the kissing contest ends up being a blowout, as they rather kiss a real geek than a psycho, that being Toby over Rick. However, Rick is allowed to kiss Darcy thanks to Toby, but unfortunately, Toby gets in trouble. Rick walks with a brand new chapeau and a brand new attitude. However, Spitter and Jimmy just had him in the dumpster, and then the next day he finds spray cans and basically decides to put the circle and X on everyone's cars that has wronged them. I wonder how he knew about the cars, but I guess he saw their cars and so basically Rick didn't know it at first, but he got himself in trouble. He bumps into Jimmy in the hallway, and basically Jimmy's now on the Michael Brain team next to Heather Sinclair's Bono. Rick decides to go to Raj and get help, but Raj basically takes Rick's stuff at face value and leaves Rick high and dry. Rick then tells Jimmy after Toby shows up with a fat lip that basically he's in trouble. And basically now that they know Toby's affiliated with Rick, they're going to go after Toby to get to Rick. And he manages to pull Jimmy onto the good side, on his side. He feels great. He's fixed things with Jimmy. He's going to be on the quiz bowl team. He's going to be on TV. But, of course, he's keeping everything secret from his mother, who basically babies him and all that. I guess because, his father's a traveling salesman. What can you do? So basically, he's happy with everything. And basically, he says that he will run the school with Toby and Emma and Jimmy. Sure, whatever. Anyway, Rick is basically happy as can be. He helps the team get to the tiebreaker. And, Jimmy is impressed by Rick's knowledge. Rick is happy. And then Rick gets talked to by Spitter and Jay, who basically say that everything's cool, but behind his back, they plan to prank for Alex. Rick saves the day. He gets paid and feathered. And basically, he's embarrassed. Worst of all is that basically Rick's behavior towards Emma was culpable. He said, "Thank you for helping me," and all that. But he basically smiles at her, holds her hand too long, whispers, "This is for you." I wonder if you heard that. I hope you heard that. But anyway, he's being creepy towards Emma, and he basically kisses Emma after Emma tries to calm him down, saying that people don't care about the paint and feathers and all that. So basically, Rick is upset that Emma may have spurned him and all that. So he goes back home and calls out for his parents, even though they're not even there, and he knows it. So basically, Spinner was right. Nothing happens. But anyway, Rick decides to go find, and he finds in his dad's cabinet a gun, a handgun. It's unlocked and all that. Like, frig. How did he get it so easily? So basically, he looks down at the gun and we don't know what happened. Part 2 happens. He goes back to school with clutching his backpack. Maybe he took the gun with him. So basically, he wants to go to school. And he still has his painted feathers on, which is weird. He goes after Paige. Paige calms him down inadvertently. And he decides that he needs to calm himself down. So he goes to the bathroom to clean up and then hides in the stall and finds out that Jimmy is behind it. Thanks to Spitter and Jay helping him out. Quote unquote. Rick feels violated that Jimmy was basically a man on the inside and basically wants to hurt him. So he takes the gun from his locker and basically goes after Jimmy. Now, the fact of the matter is, Rick does not want to kill Jimmy because he turns his head and shoots at Jimmy in the back. And then he bumps into Emma. Perfect timing for him. He basically wants to make her pay for spurting him. But Sean inadvertently saves the day by shooting Rick, albeit accidentally. Rick basically proves that, people are worried about him. And people may be sympathetic towards him. Basically, it's like, should we be sympathetic towards Rick? Should we not be sympathetic towards Rick? That's the main question. Now, a lot of people will probably say, well, when I say, is Rick a villain? Some people will say no, he's not a villain. He just basically wanted to take matters in his own hands after being bullied and all that. This is why they're talking bullocks. I know that Rick was bullied. I know that Rick was being pushed by the students and basically, he blew up at them. That's fair enough. However, there are a lot of things you don't know about Rick and all that Rick himself could have had helped. And basically, maybe you have more sympathy towards him. But the simple fact about Rick being a villain is he had a gun, he took the gun to the school with payback on his mind. We don't know how he would have done it, but basically he wanted to have payback. So payback's a bitch. He's a villain, no matter how you slice it. So anyway, now people might think, okay, we got to be sympathetic towards Rick because he was bullied and all that, and he was a victim of bullying. He was, yes. Did he deserve to be bullied? Yes. However, that's the point is that he deserved to be bullied, but the level of bullying is what is at play. Yes, Rick should have been chastised for what he did to Terry. All that. He kind of was until his parents pulled him out of school. He figured that the students were basically going to put him through hell, and then basically either Rick realized and basically tells everyone and makes sure everyone knows that he's getting better, or the fact that the students might tire themselves out. That was a stupid move on Rick's part. I know this is about victim blaming and all that, but Rick did a lot of stuff that could have saved him. He didn't do a lot of stuff that he could have saved himself from ridicule and all that crap. The fact of the matter is that, you don't walk to school with a gun in your backpack just for the heck of it. Maybe he did it to threaten anyone. But basically, the police probably would have been called in and they probably would have shot him. And that would have been huge. So, yes, Rick was bullied. Rick did not deserve to get the level of bullying he got. Basically, the students were not going to be willing to leave Rick alone until he got out of Degrassi and all that. I know it could have been simple that Rick should have just left Degrassi and basically things would have been much better. But the fact of the matter is that, Rick probably in his mind figured that he needed to stay in because he could be goading them. There is a possibility that Rick was hoping to goad people into trouble so that he gets to Radish and basically gets them in deep trouble. However, that dynamic died down in Time Stand Still Part 1. Rick did a lot of things wrong and all that. And yes, maybe he should not have been bullied as much. But the fact of the matter is that the student body almost had no choice. With the fact of the matter that the administration wasn't willing to help them, the student body basically needed to take matters in their own hands, or basically, take matters in their own hands. The administration screwed up. Radish screwed up. Simple enough. And basically, all Radish had to do with him or the other teachers was basically try to talk to the students about why Rick was back at the school. Have an assembly. Have a talk. Anything. And, some students would have probably just backed off. But there would still have been a lot of people who wanted Rick gone. I mean, Paige's clique. That's understandable. I mean, they were more violent towards Rick before Emma saved him, in a sense. Now, Rick was a loner. Basically, he messed up his relationship with Terry by putting her head on a rock. Easy enough. But the fact of the matter is that Rick was happy that Emma would actually protect him. And Rick, using nice guy logic, as not a vampire, always said, figured that basically Emma was only protecting Rick because maybe Emma had feelings for Rick, and maybe Emma thought that Rick was being bullied too much and all that. And she was right. The students basically used the Orange Ribbon campaign as a front to get on Rick's case. Even though that Emma's plan was to get him out silently and without breaking the rules, basically Rick was basically being bullied and all that. But of course, the students didn't really push Rick within the school boundaries because they kind of knew that Raditz was basically going to be watching and all that. So basically, outside school and all that. I'm actually shocked that nobody called the cops on like Patriots Click who beat up Rick in the end of um, Mercy Street. That would have been so much creepy. But basically, yeah, he thought that Emma had a crush on him and thought that Emma was perfect for him because Emma was doing the right thing. I think Rick, in his mind, went after Emma with the check for the Orange Ribbon campaign because he kind of figured that Emma was only doing it because Paige got to her. There was no qualms that Rick hated Paige because he thought that Paige had an anti-Rick rhetoric and wasn't saying anything nice about him and basically pushing everyone to ignore Rick and all that. So he figured that Emma basically made him pushed by Paige and said that maybe if I give Emma the domestic violence money, Emma would probably lay off and basically tell everyone to lay off. It wasn't until Rick was almost beaten to death that basically, you know, you guys wish Emma saved him, and basically Rick ends up having Emma and a crush on her. And it was easily pushed because Emma herself screwed up. If Emma had not been so petty about Chris and all that, dating Liberty, then I think maybe Emma would have found a guy. But word gets fast to the school, and I think the school didn't think Emma deserved to have a boy and all that. And so basically, Rick realized that Emma didn't have a boyfriend. So basically, he's like, oh, I should be with Emma because, Emma is such a great person. She's willing to do what is right for me. Well, no, not really. He basically figured that Emma was the one for him because, Emma was willing to protect Rick's interests. Terry, not so much. I don't think she really protected Rick's interests that much unless Rick pushed her to it. But basically, Rick was going to probably use psychology on Emma, basically hoping that Emma would be his main squeeze. Of course, Emma basically did it because it was the right thing to do, despite the fact that it lost her Patriots Click and basically forced her to only have Rick, Toby, and Heather as friends on the Wacky Rain team. I mean, Emma did screw herself over. I'm not protecting Emma from that. But basically, Emma probably, and my guess is that Emma realized about screwing over Manny and Liberty so much, maybe she clings on to those two because she realized that losing her friends could cost her dearly. I mean, she lost Manny and Liberty at the wrong time during Time Stand Still and all that. And basically, she lost some support and all that. Manny came back to Emma and all that, which was great and all that. Liberty took some time, but Emma probably just realized the magic of friendship. And this is not really My Little Pony, but whatever. But the fact of the matter is that Rick was upset that Emma was basically playing him along. In his logic, he thought that Emma basically was the one for him. But he learned that basically Emma was probably just trying to pity him and basically backstab him in a way. And he felt terrible. He didn't want to be backstabbed, so basically he got mad at Emma. But then again, when he had the gun, we didn't know what happens. Who would he target? Would he target himself or anything else? A theory I have is basically Rick might have been better off being dead before Time Stands Still Part 2. Because if Rick had died during the Jay and Alex and Spinner beating of him in Mercy Street, then maybe Rick would have got some kind of answers. Maybe, Jay, Spinner, and Alex would have been in deep trouble with the law and all that. Well, that Mr. and Mrs. Murray were going to be pissed off that basically Rick got beaten up for no good reason and all that. Which leads us to another point. Now Rick gets sympathy because he was bullied and all that. But the worst part about Rick is that okay, it's not villainous, but the worst part is he didn't let anyone know he was being bullied. He kept it to himself. He didn't say anything about being bullied to his parents. It's obvious. In Time Stand Still Part 1, his mother says that basically, Rick is happy being at school, saying that, he, Jimmy, Emma, and Toby are going to run the school and all that, the school trivia smarts and all that. And basically, Rick's mom says, and to think I wanted you to go to another school. Rick's mom did the right thing by basically trying to tell her son that maybe Degrassi's not willing to forgive. But at the end of the day, she had an odious or Oedipus, whatever, however you pronounce it, complex about her son. And basically, she loved her son dearly. Maybe too weirdly. Ha. But anyway, Rick basically was happy that his mom actually protected him in a sense. And it was obvious. Rick never told anyone about their problems for obvious reasons. Because Rick knew that he was going to get bullied. But Rick also knew that if he snitched on them, he gets the word snitches get stitches. And basically, they would probably up the level of bullying on him. So basically, he kept everything from his family and all that. He kept everything to himself. He never told anyone about the bullying and all that. The only people who kind of knew were the wacky baby, like Jimmy, Emma, and Toby. Because, well, especially Emma and Toby, because, that Rick was being abused by Jimmy. And then they basically said, go to Simpson, no. And then he goes to Raditch and all that. Now, he does tell Raditch, but the problem is he only says, Jimmy is bothering me and he's not my friend. That's basically what you take away from it. And Raditch, I know, screwed up a bit. And Raditch should have just said, well, if this continues, come see me, but I'm not in the mood right now. Simple as that. However, Rick screwed up. And that's how Raditch took it. Raditch is a concrete thinker. He hears the words, he's bothering me and he won't be my friend. And so he figures that Rick is trying to get Raditch to force him and Jimmy to be friends. And basically, Raditch won't have it. Raditch is basically pissed off. And in that deleted scene, he still doesn't get it. Even though Rick's being abused and all that, and the Painted Feathers, he said that this is not a daycare and make friends not part of the curriculum. How did Raditch not change his way of thinking after that? Like, he still thinks that way. I'm like, what the hell? Sorry, but that's the way it is with me. You gotta like this, but, Rick, he should have said something and all of that. I know that if you know my stuff on Degrassi, I did a video about Degrassi and Devin Selby, and the Devin Selby thing. I recommend you should watch that because I'm not going to really say much about it. But Devin Selby did tell the administration everything. He said the magic words, and apparently that wasn't enough. But Rick should have said the magic words. Maybe Rick got sympathy. Maybe Rick would have probably got some answers from Raditch. I mean, after he got Painted Feathered, Raditch was going to come to Rick's aid and all that. And basically, Rick would have got his answers and all that. But the fact of the matter, and I was on a tangent, but the fact of the matter is that, he brought a gun to the school and all that. Maybe to kill himself, maybe trying to make people feel guilty about hurting Rick and all that. And, he would shoot somebody. But the question on everyone's lips is who and when he shot. Well, it's obvious he went after Paige first because Paige was spreading the anti-Rick rhetoric and basically did not have a good word to say about Rick. And so Rick was ready to slowly raise the gun and shoot Paige. But thankfully, Paige said that Rick didn't deserve his fate being painted feathered. And basically, Rick understands that Paige was being genuine. And he realizes that he should not have gone after Paige. So he basically puts the gun away and cleans himself up. Now, Rick probably would have been more of a villain, and he would have gotten away with it more if he wore normal clothes. Because the painted feathers and all that, why would he still wear the painted feathers? He should have showered, gone home in a nice clothes, and basically, he would have been more murderous and all that. That was just shocking how he was still in his painted feathers. It was like, I guess his mental state was fragile and all that because, he got painted and feathered. Emma had spurned him, and basically the school was laughing at him. He didn't know what to do. So he brought the gun to try to maybe get something back. Maybe he was going to threaten students with a gun and all that. Probably trying to get them over. But it would have actually been all for naught. I think the police would have shot him. It would have been a police shootout at the school. But this brings me to my next point. Rick retaliated. All Rick had to do was, okay, he was being bullied and all that, but he got everyone's sympathy. And I know personally, I watched the whole series again, and all I know is that Rick was sympathetic. Everyone, although I think 80% of people would have been sympathetic with Rick being bullied and being teased and tormented before Time Stands Still Part 1. And then he just goes and ruins it by retaliating. Okay, yes, the gun was the worst part. But the fact of the matter is, he retaliated, he got himself into more trouble, and basically got people to not be around him. Yes, he got hurt. Yes, he got dumped into the dumpster by Spinner and Jimmy. But Rick should have just did what he usually did and not done a thing. Basically, not letting the police win. But he just had to spray paint their vehicles with a circle and the X, flash the sign to Spinner, Jay, and Alex, and basically that just got them all pissed off at him. The fact of the matter is that, Rick retaliated, and that's the problem. He should never have retaliated. He had everyone's sympathy, and I think the storyline would have given Rick in a personal, 100% sympathetic light, but he retaliated. Now, his reasons for retaliation are basically one major thing. He basically was tired of being bullied, so he was going to try to turn things around to Spinner, Jay, and Alex, and basically tell them that, you're bullying me and all this. This is what's causing me. How would you like it if the shoe's on the other foot? Unfortunately, Spinner, Jay, and Alex don't take it as, okay, maybe Rick is teaching us a lesson and maybe we should stop being with Rick. No, we should be pushing harder for Rick. We need to up our game to 11. And that's when the paint and feathers came. Although, the paint and feathers thing, they would not have thought of it right off the bat because they didn't tip their hand. Or maybe they did. But here's the thing, though, too. Rick was victimized. I think Alex was going to paint and feather him no matter what. Even if he lost the tiebreaker, it probably would have made him, he loses and then basically they paint and feather him because he's a loser and all that. But the fact of the matter is Rick decided to go after Jimmy. He didn't believe Jimmy. He basically believed Spinner and Jay's bullshit. If only Rick had listened to his gut instead of Spinner and Jay. Spinner and Jay set him up for failure twice. In the bathroom before Rock Your Brain, the tiebreaker, basically saying everything is cool, and then they set up the paint and feathers for Alex. And Rick had no clue he was going to be paint and feathered. And then in the bathroom, Spinner and Jay basically tried to take the heat off themselves and put it on Jimmy and all that. And Rick just had to listen to them. Mostly because Spinner and Jay said everything was cool, and he believed them. In his state of mind, he believed the first thing that happened to him and knew that Jimmy would be an inside man. So he thought logically, or illogically, if you will, and decided to shoot Jimmy. Now, as I said, he shot Jimmy. However, he turned his head and shot Jimmy. Like he put the gun towards Jimmy's back, but basically he turned his head while he shot. If Rick was willing to kill Jimmy, he was gonna aim for the head and game set match. I don't know if he would have taken the gun and go after Emma and all that. It was just coincidental that Emma walked towards him, and basically he wanted to destroy Emma. Honestly. The one thing I hate about Toby is that he didn't really he didn't try to stop Rick from shooting or attempting to shoot Emma. He should have been the one, because if Toby had basically taken the gun away from Rick, then Rick basically would have probably listened and all that. But basically, Rick was in that state of mind. I think he would have shot Toby. I think he would have shot Sean. Maybe he had the gun and wanted to shoot Sean and then shoot Emma and Toby in succession. Like he shot Jimmy. He knew that he had things couldn't get any better. Can't get better for him. So of course, everything happens, and there's a lot of anger. I mean, there's a lot of anxiousness, especially from Toby. But here's the thing: Rick's death actually helped character development, despite the fact that it didn't help Toby. Like Toby basically how many good storylines did Toby have after Time Stands Still? Probably one or two or even three. But, like students were blaming themselves for picking on Rick and all that. They probably would have been like, "Why did we bully Rick and all that?" But Rick is a total villain. I mean, he shot somebody. He almost shot Emma, and who knows? I guess Paige never knew that Rick could have shot her. But the question on my mind is, if Rick had shot Paige, would he have had a chance to shoot somebody else? Probably not. He probably would have been a dead duck, and basically Jimmy would still be walking, and Emma would probably not have her PTSD and all that. But that PTSD for Emma really changed her as a character. Emma basically saw the campaign to destroy Rick as a sign that basically, her causes are terrible. And she probably put the blame on herself why Rick was being bullied and all that. Because she didn't do many causes after season 4. Emma became more boy crazy. Maybe as a sense that, without a boy to protect her, she was at Rick's mercy and all that. I mean, like Jimmy, he was he was still on the show for a few seasons, and basically, his character changed and his mood changed, but basically he was okay and all that. I mean, Sean left and all that. Yeah, like Rick is a psycho. And the worst part is, Rick never proved he changed. Going after Jimmy and Emma proved to everybody that they were right the whole time. All Rick had to do was be faithful, get bullied, but not retaliate. And basically, he definitely 125% would have gotten his justice. He would have got his justice, and he probably would have been a sympathetic character. But no, he brought a gun to the school. He brought a gun to the school. End of discussion. That's why you don't sympathize with Rick. He brought a gun to the school. He could have done anything else. He could have told people. He could have had people help him out. He would have laid back. He would have got his answers. He probably would have got so many people, especially Emma and Paige's clique, in trouble. But he just had to bring a gun. It just had to be stupid. I don't care what you say. Rick was his own worst enemy. He screwed up trying to get people to help him, and when he got the help, he just had to turn around and bring a gun to the school, and Raj would have gotten him his answers. People would have gotten his answers, but then he turned around and became an idiot for going after Spinner, or listening to Spinner and Jay. He brought a gun. End of story. I know that the Murrays probably got a lot of hate and basically moved from Toronto and maybe got some criminal charges with unlawful use of a firearm, like firearm offenses and all that. But the Murrays probably would have got money. The school board probably would have given them a settlement, and that also would have been Radish's head on the plate. But they also knew that if they fired Radish because of this, Radish probably might have got back and got angry at them. So they reassigned him. They didn't fire him. They just dropped him down in the peg order. Maybe because they figured that Raj screwed up with the kids and all that. Say what you want. Jay being a giant dick and protecting his own ego and making Spinner and Alex terrible. The student body for basically going after Rick with the Orange Living campaign because the administration would not do a damn thing about it. Also, the fact that, Raj had ample opportunity to try to help the students out in the aftermath, and he screwed everything up. And he screwed up with Rick. Basically, that was a double whammy, and he was out the door. Emma, yeah, seemed to be villainous and all that, protecting Rick and all that, but her drop off, her demeanor drop off, just was terrible. And to me, it will always be the fact that how many students would not have cared if Emma got shot? Because, with Rick, her protecting Rick, I think they basically made Emma persona non grata. Stupid student body. And Alex for putting a face to domestic violence and that being Rick and basically destroying Rick to please herself, to make herself feel better about herself. And Paige for her queen bee attitudes and all that. There's a lot of villains, but there's only one, and that's Rick. Bringing a gun to the school makes you a villain. No ifs, ands, or candy buts about it. Understood? Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this series and all that. Thank goodness I didn't have to use clips and all that and screw up like the Whatever It Takes series because I was hoping to get the clips allowable. But no, nope, nope. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. Thanks for watching. Have a good time. And don't forget to watch my other Degrassi stuff by searching Degrassi in Sports Catastrophe in Jeff Diamond's Cutter Historical playlist. Hope you enjoy. Have a good day.